Ladies and gentlemen, from La Casa de los Lobos, the Pit, here at the University of New Mexico, let's get ready to rumble!
I want to thank my business partner, Eric Moulton, for that new intro. We just did that tonight. My name's Ryan Tamori. Welcome to the Pit Press Live. For many of those joining, yes, I'm solo right now. And for the usual suspects that are watching, you're probably like, what the hell? Sorry about that. Ed Nunez will be joining me later. Richard Thompson, Rick can't join me tonight. Eric has a new kid. Jacob will be joining us. Eventually down the stretch, gearing more towards the start of the college football season. We kind of an interesting show today with the holiday. I'm very happy to have Chris Bangle on. He's a CBS sports reporter. He's an NHL writer. Going to have him on to talk hockey and NHL. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of people in the Albuquerque area like, what the hell? It's those dog days of summer. I know Chris, he's awesome. He's going to talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup and NHL free agency. As you knew, last night we had my friend Isaac Avalise on. We talked a lot of our old Daily Lobo days. You can find that on YouTube, that interview on YouTube. If you want to listen to us bitch and moan, we talked about everything Philadelphia. And I might bug Chris about that because I know he's, I think it's South Jersey, and I know he's a big Philadelphia fan. So with that said, just to promote some things, I want to thank our sponsor, Abrazo Homes, Hydro Bar, Portable Solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room. And next week, Mountain West Conference Football Media Days from Circa Hotel and Casino. We will be live, and it's looking like we will be live from Stadium Swim. And if you've never seen it, I was playing some video from it last night. I didn't queue it up tonight. We will be live from Stadium Swim. It's our outdoor pool. It's with that giant screen, and it's a giant wall with like 5 screens. We'll be broadcasting from there live, but we will still be live regardless from Circa Hotel and Casino on July 9th and 10th. Football Media Days are July 10th and 11th. Players talk on the 10th. Coaches on the 11th. We will be getting interviews from you guys, for you guys. So I'm very excited about that. Went last year, more prepared this year. Never gone as a member of the media, non-print related to anything. So, I'm an old soul, old school. And I'm adapting, even though I'm not that old and not that young. I'm still adapting to not being a print journalist. So with that said, I want to bring in my next guest. Again, he's an NHL writer for CBS Sports. His name is Chris Bangle. Chris, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Doing pretty good. How are you? What's going on?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Oh, same stuff. You're a Philadelphia sports guy, right?
Oh, yeah. Through and through.
I'm going to start with this question. Being that, thank goodness the Mets have turned their season around. But I don't think I'm going to get a lot of Mets fans on here, so I won't get a lot of criticism like Frank the Tank. But I like watching the Phillies. I know, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper on the injured list, but they've been a lot of fun to watch. And I've been told I'm stupid because I think third baseman Alec Baum is a MVP candidate for the National League. But I'll start with you there. What have you thought about the Phillies thus far this season?
I mean, they've been as impressive as you could have asked for. I mean, obviously the last couple off seasons, they pretty much went for broke, grabbed Trey Turner, re-signed Aaron Nola last year and kind of brought this group back, tweaked it a little bit, not really too much actually this past off season, but I mean, you can't argue with they looked like probably the best team in baseball, so to speak. Maybe them, maybe the Yankees, Dodgers, I guess, in there too, potentially. But I mean, knock on wood, I don't want to count chickens before they hatch, but I mean, they're off to a good start, and I would think should run away with the NL East with the way the Braves are banged up.
No, it pains me. Like I said, they're a lot of fun to watch. You mentioned the Yankees and the Dodgers. Don't forget about. I'm a big homer for the Cleveland Indians because of the movie Major League. They have the best. I think they had the best record in all of baseball. So
it's I feel like it goes back and forth between them, the Phillies, and the Yankees for the most part. But I would love to see them make a run too. That'd be fun. Someone.
I was like the only person in the country not rooting for the Cubs in 2016. I was pulling for I was pulling for the Indians, and if I had to choose an American League team, I'm wishy-washy with the Yankees. I'm a Judge guy. I talked about that last night on when we were talking about NBA free agency. I was like, I'm a Paul George guy. I guess I sound like John Gruden. I'm a lot of these guys. But I like Aaron Judge, but I'm all about Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor. Those are, I don't know, they're a lot of fun to watch. So I pull for the Yankees. I mean, I pull for the Guardians, because of the movie Major League. But Chris Bangle, he's an NHL writer for CBSSports.com. And I wanted to talk some hockey because even though Jacob's not with me tonight, one of my co-hosts, and I guess you could call him just a plethora of knowledge when it comes to specific college basketball players and baseball prospect. He's a big NHL guy. He's a Stars fan. But I wanted to talk because of I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I wish that the Stanley Cup would have overshadowed whatever the hell the NBA playoffs with this year because I thought they stunk. And I'm saying that politely. That is PC. But what were your thoughts overall on this Stanley Cup final? And it was almost a tale of two series. And I even texted you right before Game 7. What is the significance of this game? But what were your overall thoughts about this Stanley Cup? Because I thought there was a brief period where this series should have been 2-2. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it was really a battle of back and forth. I mean, Panthers go up 3-0. Bobrovsky only allows 4 goals in the first 3 games. They look like they're unbeatable. Their defense was playing sound like it had all year. And then, everything kind of almost fell apart. The Oilers got Game 4, got that blowout win. It was almost like that was kind of the punch in the gut that they needed to battle back into the series. Heading into that Game 7, I don't think, myself included, I don't think many people thought that the Panthers could even pull it out the way they were playing. I mean, if Sergei Bobrovsky continues to struggle, if the defense isn't there, you have Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl on the other side, you kind of had to like Edmonton's chances. And, coming into that game, I would have thought they would have at least put up more of a fight, but Florida's defense just was so clean, so sound, just phenomenal on the penalty kill, blocking shots when they had to late in that third period, held the lead the whole third period, and that was all she wrote.
Well, that was kind of my next question for you was, even it was a tale of 2 goalies. I mean, Stuart Skinner, it was not pretty early on. Bobrovsky was hot. And I thought Skinner played pretty well in Game 7, but can you talk about Bobrovsky's meltdown? Because this thing turned fast, and it turned fast, faster than fast, because of how bad Game 4 was, how Game 5 was, and Game 6 wasn't even really close. But talk about the goalie play and how it kind of flip-flopped.
Yeah, I mean, early on, Skinner was, I wouldn't say bad, but he wasn't great either. But then, like you said, the script completely was flipped. Bobrovsky I don't even know what it was. I feel like part of the Panthers' problem late in the series was, Games 5 and 6, their offense was abysmal. They couldn't get going in the forecheck. They couldn't get shots on goal. They got outshot a pretty large amount of the way. And, Bobrovsky was, I think, at one point in, I think it was games 4 to 6, his goals against was, I think, right at 4. Like, it was beyond atrocious. So something had to give in that game 7 when, he had played so well throughout the entire postseason, throughout the regular season, really. I mean, he was a Vezina Trophy finalist for a reason. So when push games to shove, he completely turned it on in game 7 when they needed that big performance and, just completely shut down an offense that, pretty much was unstoppable the previous 3 games.
Switching gears to Connor McDavid. I mean, I think there were several people saying he's still an all-time great. He's still a top 5 player. I know it's kind of probably a bit of a hot take, but how do you feel about what Connor McDavid not only did in this postseason, but the Stanley Cup final, and at least to rally the Edmonton Oilers?
I mean, it was a performance for the ages. I don't really think there's any other way to say it. You're talking about a guy that's been kind of tabbed as the top star in the sport for the last several years, and they had never gotten past the West Final. I think they just one time they got to the Western Conference Final in his time in the NHL. So, nobody ever saw what he was able to do on a big stage like the Stanley Cup. And I mean, he obviously didn't disappoint at all. You're talking about a guy that wins the Conn Smythe as a playoff MVP on the losing team. It's only happened 6 times in history. He's only the second skater to ever do it. It hasn't been done since Reggie Leach of the Flyers did it in 76. So the way he just, kind of roared up and down the ice, did pretty much whatever he wanted, maybe save for game 7. Just a phenomenal playmaker, rose to the occasion when they needed a spark, when they needed those 3 games in a row. And, if they were able to get that done, that's only the second time that a team's come back from an 0-3 deficit in the final. So, he had about as polarizing a performance as you could have asked for, and I think cemented himself as, the league's top star.
Maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't know the X's and O's of the game, and I always tell that to our guys on here when we're talking basketball, but that series kind of seemed like Edmonton's speed versus Florida's brute force. Am I wrong with that?
No, I think it's a fair point. I mean, throughout the year, Florida was, not that they couldn't score goals because they, have a ton of guys, Reinhart, Verhaeghe, Barkov, all those guys that are able to put the puck in the net, but their bread and butter was, Sergei Bobrovsky in net, playing strong, giving them a chance to win, and then their defense is just suffocating. That's, kind of how they won all year. And, it was kind of surprising for games 4 to 6 to see them, kind of struggle the way they did on the defensive end of the ice. So I think that's a fair point that, their defense kind of was their calling card all year.
So when you mentioned that Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe Trophy, and I'm going to backtrack for a second because I still, when he won the award and Florida had won the cup, I immediately thought to Jean-Sebastien Giguère and the Devils fans booing him. And I should have brought that up because I will never forget Jean-Sebastien Giguère, the Mighty Duck at the time, the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim goalie, just New Jersey, just ripping the fans at Continental Airlines Arena. I don't know if it was Eidzod Center at that point, but just booing the shit out of him. And he had played well. I mean, he was I think about Paul Kariya and then the other guys on the Ducks that year. Paul Kariya is the first one that jumps out, but Jean-Sebastien Giguère that year in 2003, he was a big reason they won the Western Conference and was a reason that series went to game 7. And that was an odd series because the Devils came out and kind of shut them down and blew them out. But I still think about this. I still think about that all the time as one of like the most, I don't know. It's one of like the most New Jersey moments. And Ed Nunez, one of my co-hosts, is on listening right now. There's New Jersey #1. And I already did it. I already mentioned Daily Lobo in New Jersey. But Connor McDavid, sorry to switch gears there, Chris, and started to I guess, bring out my New Jerseyite in me, but he didn't go. Connor McDavid didn't go on the ice and accept the Conn Smythe Trophy. I don't blame him. Don Cherry defended it. Do you defend it?
I didn't really have a problem with it, honestly. I mean, at that point, like, you just pretty much got your heart ripped out. They, come back from that 0-3 deficit and are in game 7, and to lose, a 2-1 game. I mean, I can't really blame the guy for not wanting to come out. You could kind of see it in his post-game press conference. Like, he was just absolutely dejected. And, how can you blame him for they pressed so hard to get that game tying goal in the third period. And, Florida had to defend that for over 20 minutes. It was late in the second period when they got what ended up being the game winning goal from Reinhart. So, emotions had to be extremely high. So I didn't have a problem with it at all.
I thought it was I think it was one of the better Stanley Cup finals, and it looked like it wasn't going to be. I think it just because of how much of a roller coaster, and I'm going to say it again, I thought game 7 was the last 3 minutes of game 7 was better than the entire NBA playoffs, because the I don't know, the NBA players suck my ass. I'm going to ask you about NHL free agency. How do you think Jonathan Marchessault affects the Vegas Golden Knights? I mean, he was a key contributor last year. I think he was the Conn Smythe Trophy or last year in the 2023 playoffs. But how significant is that for the Knights losing him, given how big of a role he played last year for them?
I think it's huge. I mean, Marchessault, like you said, he was the Conn Smythe winner last year. I can never pronounce his name. Goal scoring machine, and he, from a sentimental standpoint, I mean, he's one of those original misfits that came in the expansion draft. Like, I think he was one of the players that fans really gravitated towards. Especially after that going into that first year, emotions were so high with the everything that happened in the Vegas community with the Mandalay Bay, tragedy and all that kind of stuff. Like, they needed something big, and, he was a key part of that. But I think, just from a hockey standpoint, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's, on the other side of 30, but he's still an incredible goal scorer, just a guy that you can consistently count on to put the puck in the net. In that top 6, either first or second line guy. I think, with him going to Nashville, he's probably going to be, in that second line and be a huge piece for them as well. But it did surprise me a little bit that Vegas didn't seem like they wanted to pay him what market was going to end up being. They it seemed like backed off towards the end coming into free agency. So I think it definitely is going to be a loss that is felt. Obviously, the Golden Knights have, an insane amount of forward depth from what they've done the last couple of years. And if we've learned anything, they're never going to sit on their hands. They're going to trade every prospect imaginable, every draft pick they've ever come in contact with for, a player that's going to help them win the Stanley Cup or, go for that. So I think definitely a big loss.
No, speaking of Marchessault and the Predators, Steven Stamkos and Brady, once again, this should be my segment. How do I pronounce this UFC fighter's name? And I watch hockey. Brady, Saye? Did I pronounce that right? Strachey. Gotcha. Say it again one more time for me. Strachey. They all signed with the Nashville Predators. 108. The Predators spent $108.5 million in NBA. I mean, in NHL terms, that's a lot of money. Talk about that signing and what that does for the present Predators, because over the last about 7-8 years, they've always kind of been hanging around. But these are 3 big names that they've signed. So they're obviously making a push towards the cup. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, the Predators are clearly just going for it. I feel like they do have a good amount of guys that are kind of, in that prime of their career where, you've got Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, they just ascended UC Saros in net. I think, this is a veteran team that has, had a significant amount of talent last year, got to the playoffs. They got beat by Vancouver, but I mean, I don't know that anybody really expected them to make a push for the playoffs. And now you're adding, Stamkos, Marchessault to that second line, that's going to be huge. I think Stamkos, I feel like people kind of want to write him off that he's kind of on the downside of his career, but I mean, he's coming off a 40-goal season and still can put the puck in the net like nobody's business. So I think that's going to be a nice piece for them. And then shoring up the defense as well, I think is also a huge deal. I don't know if I want to say they're, one of the favorites in the West, but I think they're definitely up there, probably among the, top 2 or 3 teams that, can make some noise next year because they absolutely loaded up.
No, I think what Stamkos did as a staple in Tampa, and what the Knights did last year, I think those are 2 key points. I don't know. I think that's a really good move for Nashville. That's just my personal opinion. But what team at this point that didn't make the playoffs this year you think has made the most improvements in the offseason to be in the playoffs in 2025?
I would probably say, I think Seattle has to be in there. I don't really think many people expected them to miss the playoffs last year, myself included. I don't know if I thought they'd compete for the cup, but they, had beaten Colorado the year before in the playoffs and, kind of had taken that next step and, have a good mix of, young guys like a Matty Beniers at your top center. You have Jared McCann, you have Vince Dunn on the back end. Pretty solid goaltending for the most part. So they, go out, they pick up Chandler Stevenson from the Golden Knights. Should be a pretty good piece, probably on their second line, I would say. And then Brandon Montour from the Stanley Cup champs, Florida Panthers defenseman, which a lot of criticism for that contract. He's going to be making over $7 million a year, which, he's a solid defenseman that gives you a lot on the offensive end, but sometimes he can be, I think, a little reckless, a little play out of control. So I think that's probably the only hang up with that move. But I think overall, I would say the Kraken are probably the team that, can definitely take that step and get back to the playoffs next year.
I have to ask you about the New Jersey Devils. This season was quite a disappointment, especially after what they had done last year. Jack Hughes, I don't know. I'm glad they re-signed Tatar. The goalie position was really, it kind of sucked. I don't like saying that. But I'll take a comeback and a series win in Game 7 last year against the Rangers. I will take that. It's a pass because they did not look good in the first 2 games there. But what did you make of the trade for former Calgary Flames goalie Jacob Markstrom?
Yeah, I think you just said it. The Devils were kind of primed to, again, take that next step after beating the Rangers last year, and then kind of see them miss the playoffs was a little disappointing. And I think one of the reasons was defense/goaltending. Goaltending was absolutely atrocious. Vanacek was bad. Akira Schmid never could put it together. They went out and got Jake Gallen at the deadline, which, is a solid, 1B type guy. Definitely solid for a backup, but pairing him with Markstrom, I think all of a sudden, I think the Devils could have a top 10 goalie tandem, really. I think Markstrom, probably not the elite goalie that he once was, but is still solid, a guy that can, finish the year potentially with a good defense in front of him in that 2.5 goals against type of a number. I think having that veteran presence in net with, some improved pieces on defense, is definitely going to help the Devils big time. I think picking up Brett Pesce, picking up Brendan Dillon was huge. Maybe not top of the line defenseman, but it's a good thing, good to have those veteran guys along with, they've got Luke Hughes, obviously was massive last year. If it wasn't for, Bedard being there, that's your rookie of the year probably. And then Simon Nemec as well, who they drafted pretty high a couple years ago. So I definitely think the future's bright for Jersey, and I think the goaltending is going to help them a huge amount.
It's very funny for me because watching that organization struggle with goaltending, and I know Martin Brodeur is not walking back through that door. Not to steal, what was it, Rick Pitino there.
Right.
But to watch a team as I got older, at least I was old enough to watch a team win, advance to 3 Stanley Cups, four Stanley Cups. 2012 was like lightning in a bottle for them and the Kings. But to watch an organization advance to 3 Stanley Cups, win 2 of them 20 years ago, when your basis was tough defensive play and outstanding goaltending with obviously maybe a top 3 goal. I mean, some people argue Martin Brodeur might be the best goalie. I will probably throw out Patrick Waugh, but it was just very painful for me to see somebody in a Devils team struggle with any kind of goalie play. That's just a personal take. But a few more questions here, joined by Chris Bangle. He's a NHL writer for CBSSports.com. How good of an idea was it the NHL to have the draft at the Sphere in Las Vegas, because it looked badass?
It looked awesome. I mean, you know, I covered it from home, but just seeing it on TV, it looked pretty awesome. I mean, seeing it like during the F1 and all that stuff, like previous months ago, like it looked pretty sweet. And, you know, kind of a lot of the times when they put like, you know, all the younger pictures of, you know, some of the draft prospects and stuff, and how they had, you know, kind of the team logos displayed within the Sphere, it looked pretty awesome. I mean, I think it's something different that obviously no sport has done. Like I just think that's pretty cool to constantly have, like, you know, when somebody was on the clock, they would put, you know, flash the, you know, Devils logo or what have you. Like, I just think that's pretty cool. And it's something that, you know, we've never seen before. I kind of myself, like, I would just go to see like anything there just to say I went and did it. But it is pretty awesome.
You know, I know Dana White said they were going to have it was going to be like a once in a lifetime thing where they were just going to have the one UFC event there, which I think is in the next couple of months. I think it's September. But I mean, I know that the NFL just had their draft there. I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like you could probably play a basketball game right there, right? I mean, that's just my, you know, insane mind, and that's a stupid comment. But I thought it looked awesome, and that, I mean, just that venue. The NHL, for all of the things that I criticize the MLB for doing wrong, I think the NHL, and I know Gary Bettman's like enemy number 1, but I think that the NHL has done some really cool things. And I don't think a lot of people, you know, the casual fan doesn't know that. What do you know about Boston University star Macklin Celebrini? The San Jose Sharks picked him number 1 overall in that draft at the Sphere last weekend.
Yeah, I think, you know, after last year with Connor Bedard, everyone kind of, once you know who that number 1 guy is going to be, everyone, you know, kind of immediately goes to that thought, like, is he, you know, a generational type talent like that? Celebrini's not quite on that level, I wouldn't say, but you're still talking about a guy that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, he won the Hobey Baker Award for the top player in college hockey at, I believe he was the youngest to ever win it. Just a phenomenal guy that can put the puck on his teammate's stick, incredible vision, you know, phenomenal goal scorer. That goes without saying. On a team that, I mean, the Sharks were, you know, let's not mince words, they were downright awful last year and kind of have been the last couple years, really, since, you know, those Joe Thornton type guys have gotten out of there.
Brent Burns.
Yeah, pretty much anybody that was good was not playing there anymore. But I think, you know, you got Celebrini. They drafted Will Smith, who was at Boston College last year. I'm assuming, I believe, as far as I know, I think both of them will end up playing on the Sharks next year. They went out and picked up Tyler Toffoli from the Winnipeg Jets, another guy that can score 30 goals in his sleep. So the Sharks are actually going to be worth watching, which, like, kind of like the Blackhawks were last year. Like, they were pretty much atrocious besides Bedard, but you still just want to tune in and see what he's going to do. But I think Celebrini is going to have, I think, a little more help maybe than Bedard did. It's kind of a toss-up. I don't think neither one was in a great position. But I think, you know, Celebrini should be fun to watch for sure.
As you were talking about that, I played this highlights of the draft at the Sphere, and I was looking at it while you were talking, and it was Celine Dion announcing the pick
For the Canadians pick.
For the Canadians. Yeah, I didn't see that. I lied, Chris. I'm sorry. I got a couple more questions because I can't not talk about the Coyotes in Utah. Alex Morello, the owner there, is apparently a huge idiot. He's bungled the whole thing in Tempe. He lost the team out of the Phoenix area. Do you ever see Phoenix getting another team, and how bad has he handled the situation?
I mean, you can't say that they didn't completely screw that up. I mean, it's been a good market for hockey. It's, the fans really supported that team. And I think just the way everything was handled, they tried to make it, get a new stadium in Phoenix. That didn't work. They went to Tempe. That didn't work. All the reports that they weren't paying their hotel bills when they stayed on the road, and
I heard that
all kinds of that. They got basically booted from the whatever that arena is called this week. It was Gila River, and now it's something else, wherever the Suns play. But
no. So they got booted from the old U.S. Airways Arena, which is Footprint Center. Then they were in Gila River. Yeah, they were in Gila River in Glendale, which is a part of West Point or Westgate. Excuse me, Yeah. Oh God, somebody's going to correct me, but it's where the Cardinals play. There's a whole area there. It's awesome. But they were playing there, and they did not. They weren't paying their rent there.
Yeah, and then they just completely said at the end of the season that was going to be it, and then go into playing at 5,000 seat Mullet Arena on the campus of Arizona State. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it seemed like the atmosphere was decent there. It seemed like people did kind of rave about it. So at least I guess they had that going for them. But then just to see them, billionaire Ryan Smith just pops in, drops the bag for Gary Bettman, and poof, there's a team in Utah, which, nothing against them, but I just think not having hockey in Arizona in the desert just kind of feels wrong to me.
We were talking about that before we went live. I think that Arizona Coyotes, the old one with the stick and the A, it's
the best.
That's it's one of the best logos ever. And I mean, I think that team is much more popular than people realize in Phoenix, and I could be wrong. And if somebody's from Phoenix, I mean, I think Phoenix is a Suns town. The Diamondbacks are there. The Cardinals are there. But, I mean, they've been 12 years, but they had been to a Western Conference final. Speaking, this is my last two questions for you. Do you think, and we were talking about before we went live, do you think hockey can succeed in Salt Lake City and Utah?
It's kind of hard to say, but I think the earlier returns are good. They had a, fan welcoming type event. I don't know what they called it exactly, but a couple months ago, after the regular season had ended, obviously Coyotes were out of the playoffs, so it didn't really matter. And it seemed like, it was a packed house. It seemed like they sold a lot of season ticket packages, that kind of thing. I think it's a sport that doesn't really, I don't know that there's going to be a lot of people that know a ton about the sport. I was on the radio a few weeks ago in Salt Lake City, and they were just kind of saying basically tell me about hockey, why it's such an amazing sport. Like I don't think I think they've had a few minor league teams, but I don't think on this level they've had, obviously haven't had a professional team. So I would say jury's kind of still out, but I think, it kind of has to succeed. I feel like with the way they were taken out of Phoenix, I just think if, there isn't support for them, it's just going to make Gary Bettman look even worse than he already does.
Last question. I thought about the movie Basketball. Matt Stone, Trey Parker, the South Park guys, when they mention at the beginning, like how, if you've ever seen the movie, how they mention how there was no sports just became this money grubbing thing, and that's how basketball got invented. And then when they mention that the New Orleans Jazz moved to, I meant to cut the clip. The New Orleans Jazz moved to Utah, where they don't allow music. And as far as the names go, Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, it just cut out a little bit.
As far as the names go, Yeti, Outlaws, Mammoth, or Blizzard?
I'm really in with the Yeti. I just feel like that's something different. I mean, obviously they're all going to be different, but I don't know. Grizzlies has been done 1,000 times. Like, think about all the college football programs. Like, is there a Yeti out there? No. Like, it's something completely different, completely insane. I feel like you could have fun with that logo too. I don't understand why they're dragging it out. Like, just announce the team name. Like, next year they're playing under the Utah Hockey Club in the most boring jerseys that I think they could have conjured. But I mean, we'll see. But I think the Yeti is clubhouse leader for me.
His name is Chris Bangle. He's an NHL writer, reporter for CBSSports.com. Chris, it's been a while since I reached out to you. You came on my show on 610 The Sports Animal on Saturday mornings. We tried to start a podcast. That's a conversation for another time. And then we blew up doing this. So I appreciate your time, man. And if I ever we're trying to slowly talk, I'm trying to slowly talk more national stuff. But I really appreciate, man, breaking down the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, the draft, and everything going on with Utah and Arizona. Happy belated birthday, and I hope you have a happy 4th of July. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot for having me. I'm always down to talk NHL, whatever.
Sounds good. I need to get you incorporated with some betting talk. I will do that. I promise you that.
Twist my arm.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, again, happy birthday. Happy belated 4th.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
That was Chris Bangle, CBS Sports reporter. Covers NHL. I love talking to Chris. I've gotten to know him a little bit, even though we're on the polar opposites of the country. Happy to have him on. When we come back, Ed Nunez, we'll talk some local stuff, a little bit of Lobo football. I think I'm going to get Ed's thoughts on the football schedule. I'll ask him about Bronny because he's the resident Laker fans with Rick. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live. We will be right back.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
See the envy me, passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden on PD. When you started, whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get on my shit, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. They fight with me, no it's a KO.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Podcast. My name is Ryan Tamori. Hope everybody enjoyed Chris Bangle talking some NHL. Ed, I'm sorry you had to suffer through like 20 minutes of NHL talk. He is the voice of the Western New Mexico. He is the voice of the Western New Mexico. Sorry. He is the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970. His name is Mr. Ed Nunez. Ed, how you doing?
Well, no suffering at all. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and maybe I learned a little bit about the NHL hockey. I follow the Stanley Cup, the last game. Now, I reported on it every time there's a score. I've never been a hockey guy. It's not a hockey hotbed here, but I learned a little bit by listening to him. So he was a great guest to have. That's for sure.
Much like John Hammond in Jurassic Park, I try not to spare no expense. That includes our guests. I appreciate it. I am terrible. There's a reason I went the print journalism route, because I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Jonathan Marchal, I even looked it up, and then Brady Sajay, I still got it wrong. Ed, I'll ask you, you went and saw Caitlin Clark this week, and I'll ask you about that in a second. I just want to do some house cleaning. Hey, we have appreciated all of our listeners, and I am trying to establish some sort of, hold on, let me fix my light there. I have tried to, and the cords behind me, I look terrible. I needed to sit down for a second. Ants in the pants, if you guys are listening from last night. Trying to talk a little bit more national stuff. I miss doing it, talking about it. I think we can bring more value to that. Obviously, our bread and butter is not only Lobo men's basketball, but UNM athletics as a whole. And I'm going to stand back up because those cords are bothering me, so you're going to have to bear with me for a second. But I really would love to talk more national. We're trying to do more betting. Jacob has connections in Las Vegas. His uncle was a oversighter of play for some sports books. So we're trying to bring that to you. So it's very cool. I appreciate Chris and everybody last night. Give me a second, Ed. There we go. Perfect. My headset was going in and out. Thank God this is a show in July, even though we've got quite a few people watching. Next week.
Great jersey, by the way, Ryan. Great jersey. Vince Carter there. We'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you off. I just saw some highlights on Vince the other day. And keep going. Sorry about that. It just brought back some memories. That guy was an incredible dunker. He really was.
Well, it's very funny because I love the Knicks, but, man, some of those early 2000s Nets teams, Richard Jefferson, Kenyon Martin, Jason Kidd, and Vince Carter signed after they won back-to-back Eastern Conference. But I saw the Nets and Knicks play a couple times in Continental Airlines Arena, not in the Garden. I've seen the Knicks play in the Garden. I saw the Knicks play the Danny Grangerless Indiana Pacers a million years ago. But yeah, man, those Nets teams, I look back and I was like, man, they got smoked by the Lakers and then kind of got smoked by the Spurs in 2003. But yeah, man, I love Vince Carter. I miss him. Next week, Ed and I will be, let's see if I can find it. I'm really good at producing the show when I'm on. We're going to be at Mountain West Conference Football Days in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada at Circa Hotel and Casino, July 9th, 10th, and 11th. We will be live July 9th and 10th. And it sounds like we will be live from Stadium Swim. Very excited for that. The 10th is going to be the players from the Mountain West Conference, and then the 11th will be the coaches. So very, very excited for that. We're getting ready for football to start. Give me a second, Ed. I've got technical difficulties. I'm going to head back to commercial. I apologize. Ed, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that, guys. My headset's been going out. That's like the first thing that's possibly gone wrong. Another Simpsons reference since we started doing this. Sorry about that. Let me backtrack. It's hard when you're producing this show by yourself. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Made mistakes tonight. Mountain West Conference Football Media Days live from Circa Hotel and Casino. July 9th and 10th. We'll be live, hopefully, from Stadium Swim. The media days are 10th and the 11th. Sorry for repeating myself. Players on the 10th, coaches on the 11th. So we're very happy. We will finally talk to Bronco Mendenhall. Not happy that I have to get on a plane and fly, like 700-800 miles away to talk to the coach of the university that we cover, but 'tis what it is. Before I get to Ed talking about his weekend, happy Independence Day, happy 4th of July to everybody. And I had to play this clip.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Thank you, Bill Paulman. Ed, you went to Phoenix this week and saw Caitlin Clark play the Phoenix Mercury. Talk about that.
Well, my wife is a big Caitlin Clark fan. She's turned into a big Caitlin Clark fan since I'm watching her play at Iowa during the last part of the year. And she said this to me a couple of weeks ago. And remember, I travel a lot with Western. I'm gone a lot. So she said, I want to see this. I want to see her play. Let's make it happen. And we saw a game in Phoenix, and we went online and bought tickets. It's a little dicey, the Ticketmaster thing going online, but we got the tickets. And so we drove there on Saturday. We drove, and the game was on Sunday. And 17,000 for the game. 17,000 sold out. Had a really electric atmosphere there because they've got Brittany Griner and Diana Taurasi on the Mercury.
Right.
And, it was kind of hyped up. It really was for a WNBA game. And I think there's a lot of naysayers about Caitlin Clark, but again, she's brought a lot of attention along with the girl from LSU, Reese.
Angel Reese
has brought a lot of attention to the league. And with that, more money, better contracts, better accommodations on the plane, things like that. But I'm telling you, the Phoenix, they sent their best defender on her, Cooper. And she was really, guarding her hard, guarding Clark very hard. Phoenix had a big lead, and then Indiana came back and won by 2. It was a very good game. Clark near a triple-double, 14 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds. Now, I'm going to say what I saw about her is I think she's her passing is very underrated. She's a little she's going to need to develop a little bit physically to take that bump that stronger players and quicker players are giving her. But as far as her passing, she's got the nice step back. They're going to set a lot of picks at the elbow and top of the key for her to spring her for a deep three. But her passing is something that really impressed me because what she does is she catches people in a scoring position, and all they got to do is catch and shoot. Catches them right in the scoring pocket, and a lot of them drop her passes. She does turn it over with some poor passes, but her passing really, really impressed me. I couldn't have asked for a better game. It was a great game. Brittany Griner at 6'9" doesn't have the explosiveness she may once have had. Maybe she's still catching up from that year that she had to spend in prison in Russia, but she still scored. She catches the ball high and then turns around and scores, and it's hard to stop her. Diana Taurasi had her moments. They had some other players had some moments for Phoenix too. I like Aliyah Boston a lot for Indiana. I think her and Clark are really developing a nice little tandem there. And Clark struggled at first. The team isn't good. That's why they got the number 1 pick. I think they've gotten better, but they're not amongst the upper echelon of the WNBA yet. The Las Vegas Aces are still very, very good. Asia Wilson had 25 last night or 27, and Las Vegas beat Indiana. But I got to tell you a funny story. So, we parked about 4 blocks away from Footprint Center, and somebody dropped us off 2 blocks. So we walk, and I'm telling you, this is inferno heat, man. Okay, this is inferno heat there. It's 112 degrees. So we get out after the game. We walk 4 blocks, and by the time we get to the car is boiling. We put one of those things on in front of the windshield. But I'm telling you, that heat, I was so dehydrated. And Phoenix is a great town. It's just that inferno heat. I don't think I could take it, man. It's 112 that day. I think it's 113 today, 113 tomorrow. So we had dinner with a friend of mine from Pius later that night. played on the 1980 championship team, All-State, Ron Beach, a really, really good friend. And man, I just wanted to ask him, how do you guys survive in this heat? It's brutal. But again, it was a great experience, especially for my wife. My granddaughter and I bought her a Caitlin Clark pullover shirt last Monday, and my wife enjoyed the heck out of it. So, keep the wife happy. It's a good life. We had a really nice vacation. We just got back this afternoon, so we had a good time.
Happy wife, happy life. So our friend, former teacher of mine from St. Pius X High School, Bill Torres, will also be in Las Vegas. You know Bill, Ed.
I do.
He sent me, he was like, hey, do you know he does PA for the Isotopes and the United. He's the PA announcer for United. So any United fans, I know Adam Deal and who's the voice. Adam's become very, very we're acquaintances, but I think United are playing right now. So I know who's watching us doesn't pay attention.
Yeah.
Adam, I'm not here trying to be somebody far up somebody's ass. Adam is awesome at calling soccer. He really is. And I've become a little bit more friendly with him, and he's a funny guy. But Bill,
you have no idea, man. You have no idea.
Oh, I think I do.
Yeah.
He's a good time. Bill sent me, he texted me the other day. He's like, hey, do you know what the temperatures are in Phoenix next week? Or in Vegas next week? And I was like, it's probably going to be the face of the sun. It's going to be fucking hot. Like, I know that. It's 117 when we're there next week, Ed, but we will be in a casino. We'll be in a conference room. And then when we're out Stadium Swim, I think we should be under should be in maybe, I don't want to say a cabana, but we should be under a tent. So we will be shielded. But looking ahead to that, it's very funny you bring up your wife talking about Caitlin Clark. My mom's friend, Pat Dillon, in New Jersey. I call her Aunt Pat. She's not blood related, but she treats me like an aunt. She's treated me like an aunt all 37 years of my life. She's my mom's best friend. Her dad, Mr. Dillon, big Giants fan, watched Joe Theismann, Drew Pearson at South River High School in New Jersey, was an avid sports fan. And he was funny, I think he was awarded the Purple Heart in the Pacific. So that's the kind of man Joe Dillon was, and he commuted into the city. I miss Mr. Dillon. But my Aunt Pat was out in Albuquerque during the NCAA tournaments. And my mom was like, Aunt Pat's going to want to watch the women's tournament. And I said, yeah, I know. And damn, did she, and she has family members that went to Notre Dame. Her dad, as I mentioned, Mr. Dillon, Joe Dillon, was a massive Notre Dame fan. But my aunt, she gets here and she watches Notre Dame football. She pays a little bit of attention. Again, she's in East Brunswick, New Jersey. She's 15 minutes away from Rutgers campus in the football stadium, SHI Stadium. But she gets here and she's just ripping off all the college players, the women's players. And I mean, knowledgeable. My mom was like, you should have her on the show. But I was more enthralled with the women's tournament this year because I thought it was a better product than what the men was. I thought the 2023 tournament was awesome. I still watch religiously. I thought this tournament was kind of meh. Other than UConn, maybe nobody really made kind of a deep run that was a surprise. The Texas A&M Houston game was good. But damn it, did she, if she knew every player, she watched her cousins, like second or third cousins, play lacrosse for Notre Dame. She's watching Notre Dame lacrosse. She knows all that. But yeah, she knew everything about every single college team and college player and who was left. And I watched a lot of the women's tournaments here and put some money on it. But yeah, she was really enthralled with it. I don't understand the Caitlin Clark hate, and we've never really delved into it on this show. I don't understand it. I think she's a phenomenal player. There has been some race issues. It's become a social, socio-political conversation. But you look at her numbers, they were phenomenal. And they talked about that during the Final Four, how the commentators on ESPN about how underrated of a passer she was. And she has, I don't know, she was averaging like a double a game in college. I don't get the hate on that. And I'm a hypocrite myself because I take a big fat dump on LeBron all the time. And we'll get into that a little bit later, Ed. But yeah, I thought that was really cool that you were like, hey, I'm going away this weekend to go see, my wife wants to go see Caitlin Clark. I thought that was very cool, and it would have been. I'm glad you're joining me tonight because it was a very good talking point for us trying to find stuff to talk about. But I think it's very funny that you will be in Phoenix and then you're turning around and we're going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Man.
When I went
That's all
last
right.
year,
Yeah.
when I left last year, I boarded the plane and it was 106 degrees in Albuquerque and I landed in 116 degree weather. So I get it. But I want to switch gears, and I know it's a little bit of a repetitive topic. I still want to talk Lobo football. That train is rolling. NCAA football is 2 weeks away. I cannot wait. NCAA college football 25, EA college football 25. I can't wait. I have a history with it. I'll talk a little bit more about it. And my anniversary with running into Mike Loxley is coming up. I'll mention that. It's more of a joke these days. But, Ed, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. The Mountain West has announced they have partnered with TNT Sports. Isaac Avuluse and Rick Thompson and I talked about it last night. Richard. But these games will be live on True TV and Max. I guess you can catch 50 million syndicated reruns of World's Dumbest Criminals and Impractical Jokers, then catch San Jose State and Colorado State. But they will show, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games. UNM gets 3 of them. Had to count that on a live show. But your thoughts, and what do you think this does, Ed, for the Mountain West Conference as a whole? And we'll probably learn more about it next Tuesday and Wednesday. But what does it do more? What do you think it does for the conference? And it does give UNM a little bit more national attention.
You just said it, exposure, revenue, more money. I was reading, I got to tell you this, Ryan. I thought about you because USA Today at our hotels that we were staying at the Hampton Inn, they had it for free. And USA Today, I thought, hey man, they've still got writers. They don't publish box scores, but the sports section has multiple sports writers, so they're still kind of humming along. And where a lot of newspapers are falling by the wayside. But what they said in this newspaper article of USA Today about TNT channel or the Pac-12 channel was going dark. And I read that. I'm like, gosh, the Pac-12 channel, the Pac-12 has been around a long time. So no, that's gone. So when you bring this up about the exposure the Mountain West is going to get on this channel here, it's great for the conference. There's no doubt about it. They don't get a lot of exposure as it is. And so New Mexico's on 3 times here. San Jose State looks like they're on 5 times. So Wyoming is on twice. I think it's great for the conference, great for the league, great for the Lobos. There's nothing better than getting exposure for a league that doesn't get that much as it is. So I think it's great. I don't see how it's a bad thing at all. And the good thing for me is if I'm gone at Western, they show it on True TV and I can watch it. They do have that package at the hotels we stay at in Silver City. That's a plus for me. But as I mentioned, I think it's a great thing for the conference and the league and for all teams involved. People are getting to see what kind of football the Mountain West Conference plays.
You mentioned the Pac-12, and we didn't even talk about this yesterday because it silently under the radar, even though it was happening. Maybe I didn't pay attention enough. July 1st, a SEC has now had Texas and Oklahoma join. They are no longer Big 12 members. And then I got an update from CBS, the CBS Sports app on my phone, and it was like Utah to pick the Big 12. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wait, what? And then I forgot they were in the Big. Felt like an idiot that they were in the Big 12, and it would think was Colorado second. And so, yeah, Utah picked to win the Big 12. I'm just like, my mind is blown with what this is going to look like. And I've got to mention it. We are a month and a half away, basically from, week 0. It is right around the corner, and UNM plays that week. Montana State. We're going to talk about that. It's at home at University Stadium. I think there's a time. I just haven't put it in my brain to remember it. But I'm starting to like FCS a lot more. I want to watch a lot more FCS this year. I think it's really cool, and I'll go to this, Ed. These are the updated TV schedule for. Oh, it's 4 games. My bad. Here we go. For those of you that probably hate my guts watching the show,
Are you dumb?
I thought it was 3 games. It's 4 games. Fresno State, that's from It's Always, that's from I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson, the guy who used to write for SNL. That show on Netflix is a sketch comedy show. Each episode's 11 minutes, and it's fantastic. I don't know if it's your cup of tea, Ed, but I love it. They play Fresno State at home. So 3 of these games are at home, Ed, on True TV. Fresno State, September 21st, 6:30. We'll be there. My mom will be at the Air Force game because she would love to see Air Force play. Saturday, October 12th. That game's at 5 p.m. I don't know why I mentioned that. Those are my mom's a big college football fan, but anyway, they're at Utah State, and we mentioned that last night, Ed. That's going to be probably a little bit of a hot topic next week with Blake Anderson being fired. Yeah. Saturday, October 9th at 2 p.m. and then Saturday, November 2nd against Wyoming at 2 p.m. Again, Ed, you see that? I mean, those are prime old school WAC Mountain West Conference games.
They are. And one thing when I look at Air Force, that game always in Fresno State, all the opponents are, you mentioned the situation at Utah State with Blake Anderson, and that's going to be very interesting with a new coach, the former New Mexico State assistant coach, and the youngest coach at 33 years old is going to be taking over there. So, but one team that always strikes me is Air Force. The New Mexico has not had much success, whether it's Fisher, DeBerry, whoever the coach was at Air Force, with that triple option. New Mexico has always struggled with Air Force. So whenever I see them on any schedule, it's like they've been very tough for a lot of teams to beat, but that they have that triple option perfected. And that's always a tough game for New Mexico. But, with Utah State now, and Kurt Roth came in on the show last week and said he thought 5 wins. And Utah State's got a good team, but they're in kind of a little bit of turmoil there. And maybe that's a game that New Mexico can get in the win column there.
We have talked about it immensely, and we need to find new subjects to talk about, and we will do that moving forward. I mean, we started this. I am an avid college football fan, and I have fallen in love with college basketball even more the last 3 years because of gambling. But Ed, we're going to do it again. And, I think about, we had the gentleman from Texags on last year. I forgot his name. I'm sorry. He's not watching anyway, I don't think, but we had him on prior to the Texas A&M game. And you think about, well, I'm all over the place on this, but you see where I'm getting with my point. You think about the SEC schools, you think about the Big Ten schools, you think about some of the Pac-12 schools. They live, eat, and breathe college football. UNM, it's bread and butter. We started this. Its bread and butter is the men's basketball team. The women's basketball team has been to a Sweet 16. I look at the schedule again, Ed, and we're probably going to repeat ourselves again. And I am torn with it. Maybe that's where we're taking this. And by the way, I'm going to sidestep. Don't have many people in the comments. I know we were talking NHL. I was going to say, this is your show tonight. If you have more comments and there's something you want to hear us talk about, we've already been doing this for an hour. We might stay on for like another 20, 30 minutes, depending on how it goes. But please feel free to flood us at thepitpressnm@gmail.com. That's our mailbag. And if you guys have any other questions for us tonight or want our opinions, want to tell me you love me, want to tell me I'm fucking stupid, go right ahead. I look at this schedule and I've been torn, Ed, because I love Kurt Roth. I appreciate what he does, what he said. But and let me plug him there, 505 Sports Ventures Foundation. Visit them at 505sports.org for more information. He kind of changed my opinion. Then I'm talking to our buddy, Rick Thompson, and where'd it go? There it is. Ricky and I were talking, and Rick might come on here and say it, but I don't know how confident Rick is. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. He might give his opinion on here. I'm 50-50, and Isaac said it last night. A game and a half is not a lot. If you're paying $120 to win 100 at minus 120 to win for their season total to win 2 games, I'm all for that. I'm all for that because a blind squirrel might find a nut, as cliche as that is every time. I think they beat Montana State. They should beat New Mexico. And for the sake of corniness, and I've got a little bit of it in me too. That's some good corn. They're probably going to find a third game in there. I mean, Danny's team won 4. I can hear Rick in the back of my mind, but like they only had 65 players on this roster 3 months ago for the spring game. I look at the schedule. I don't think they're not beating U of A. It's going to be a revenge game, regardless of how much Danny loves this program. And he played here. He's at U of A now, special teams coordinator with Brent Brennan, the former San Jose State head coach, who was awesome to talk to last year. I'm a little bit upset he's not going to be there. But they're not beating at U of A. They're not beating Auburn. I don't think they're beating Fresno. He's referred to the corniness. That's where I was going with this. Bronco Mendenhall, UNM head football coach, has referred to that as the New Mexico Championship, which I love. We need to make shirts or something for that with New Mexico Championship.
Yeah, no kidding.
I can't see him. I can't see him beating Air Force. I think Jay Norvell's done a better job at. He's going to have that team much better at Colorado State. Troy Horton is an NFL wide receiver. They're lucky they don't get Boise State. They're lucky they don't get UNLV. It's the non-con that's really hard. They get Washington State. I don't know what Sean Lewis is going to be at San Diego State. Ed, that's a complete ramble, and I'm going to go to this comment. John Romero, Kurt Roth is pouring Lobo football Kool-Aid. I need to fix those banners, but he is. There we go. Kurt Roth is pouring Lobo football Kool-Aid. Don't drink it. Kurt's a straight shooter, man. And I don't think he'll get upset with. I'm not going to go into detail about the conversation we had last year about Lobo football. The sense I got from him was not optimism. So to hear him say that, he's a straight shooter, man. He's from Long Island. He's not going to bullshit around. But Ed, again, I know I'm trying not to repeat about it, but maybe taking away a little bit about what Kurt Roth said last week. And every time you look on the schedule, does your opinion change?
You got to remember one thing. They haven't played the games. We don't know what's going to happen. I think as far as the optimism that Kurt Roth said, the one thing he said about Bronco, he's a CEO. He really like it. Kurt, remember one thing. Now, John is a friend of mine. I like John a lot, but Kurt Roth's been around Lobo athletics for years. He mentioned that. He'd been here when Willie Howard played for the Lobos, and that's when Marvin Johnson and Michael Cooper played. That's years ago. So he's been around and talked to him. Talk is one thing. Can they perform on the field? Now, you look down that schedule, and you mentioned who you thought they would win and lose to. Is there an argument now on July 3rd, 2024? We probably wouldn't argue that because of the schedule and the past, past histories and past games New Mexico's played against these teams. We probably wouldn't argue that. What's the Mendenhall effect? That's one thing I've been asking. Is the effect now? He had first losing season at Virginia, 2-10, and after that he rolled. 10 bowl games. What was it? 10 bowl games at Virginia and BYU. So there's going to be an effect. I'm positive there will be an effect. Does it now? Remember what Sean Ryder said. The running back room looks good. The offensive line, even though they lost a lot, they lost almost their whole line. He thinks that looks good. He said, now one thing. Somebody had mentioned this. We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver. Daryl Chestnut said that. Who's our guest? We haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver.
We need to have him on more.
Yeah. Daryl can break it down. I saw Glover Quinn at the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame banquet dinner, and I laughed with him.
Have him on again.
Yeah, I said, you remember being on our podcast when you said, I saw that guy, but he ain't making no plays. He said that about 4 or 5 Lobos. Do you remember that? He said that last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy's good, but he ain't made no plays, man.
Oh yeah.
That's what it counts. So now going back to Sean Ryder, that's a ramble. Sorry about that. But what Sean Ryder has said.
No.
Is it okay? Attention to detail. What kind of coaching, or does it? I asked you that. Is it coming out of a stance as a lineman, blocking technique as a wide receiver? Is it setting up the corner? What is it on the defensive line? He's got success. We know that he's succeeded. So now I'm a Lobo fan. So when I hear it, of course I want to drink it. I want to drink it, and I want to get drunk with it, and I want them to win. Now, you mentioned the schedule here. I can't say anything until I see them play on the field. Again, we would think they would, if they've got 3 wins, it would be kind of hard. But like I mentioned, there's going to be an effect. He is a winner. He's a proven winner. Now, I know you said he hasn't won here yet. He hasn't played a game yet. They haven't played it. They'll have to wait till they play Montana State and see how they do then. But I'm optimistic about what Kurt said. I've still said that about what Sean Ryder has written. But again, talk is cheap. We have to see it on the field. Now, those teams you mentioned, will they beat Arizona? Probably not. Auburn, probably not. Fresno State, the Air Force is always a tough out. Are they competitive? That's some Lobo teams have not been competitive in losing to some, especially the Air Force. They've gotten bombed by Air Force in the past. So I'm anxious to see that. What's the change? He's turned this roster. Rick said it himself only a month ago. They added some depth, and I think the other concern is, and I said this last week, the second quarterback. The second quarterback is real key, and Kurt said it himself. Nobody's merged yet to be the backup to Devin Dampier, who's going to run, is going to pass. He's going to get hit. They need that second quarterback. But I am, reasonably optimistic. Ryan, look, I do love the Lobos. I've told you that. I'm unabashedly, I love them. I'll tell you the truth about them. I'm not going to sit here and tell you they're going to a bowl game, okay? But the other thing I think that Kurt said that interested me is that he's just not interested in going to the New Mexico Bowl. He wants to go to other bowl games. So
don't tell Jeff Symbieta.
Yeah, it's nothing against the New Mexico Bowl. It's a great bowl.
No, there's nothing.
He's done a great job with that. Jeff does a good job. But that to me tells me he's shooting for bigger goals for this program. So again, I'm gonna say that I'm really optimistic about it we'll see on the field. The first game against Montana State, who had success at the FCS level, is that really a telling thing? We'll see. I think anytime he puts a team on the field and we see how competitive they are, what their schemes are. Remember last year, we had a lot of high hopes for Coach Gonzalez. Their penalties plagued them all season long. They didn't fix it. We asked Cy Riley about it when he was on with us 2 months ago, and he said he didn't think they'd commit as many penalties. So I think that's going to make a difference. Does coaching make a difference? Absolutely. I think it does. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I wouldn't say they'd win 5. Kurt was optimistic they could get 5. A lot has to happen for that. I'd be happy with 3 or 4.
I didn't want to give Hewlett Packard more advertising. Bronco Mineral. I don't like to visually our show to look like this, but just for reference, this is sportsreference.com. 17 years, 135 and 81. That's a 625 win percentage. 14 bowl games, 7-7. That's 50%. That's pretty darn good. Bronco Mendenhall, his first year at BYU, 6-6, 2006, 2007, both 11-2, 2006, 8-0 in the Mountain West Conference. They won the Las Vegas Bowl back-to-back years. 08, 10-3, 2009, 11-2. His last year in the Mountain West Conference with BYU, 7-6. They went independent in 2011, 10-3, 8-5, 8-5, 8-5. His last year, 9-4 at BYU, 99-43. I mean, they live and eat, they drink, eat shit football in Provo, Utah. They love their football there. At Virginia, we've talked about it, and I'm ripping off just stats here. It's not how I like to operate, but 2-10 in 2016. 2017, 6-7. They got to a bowl game, lost. 2018, 18-5, won the Belk Bowl. 2019, went to the ACC title game. Finished the season 9-5, lost to Clemson in the ACC title game. Lost the Orange Bowl that year pretty badly to Florida. Well, no, okay, 36-28. Not bad, but hey, they got to the Orange Bowl.
Yeah.
That's pretty darn good. But you talk about teams getting blown out. I mean, the first thing that I think of is 2 of the 3 years I was at the Daily Lobo and the Mike Loxley years. In 09, they went 1-11. They lost 41-6 to A&M, 44-10 to Tulsa, 37-13 to Air Force, lost to New Mexico State by a field goal, lost to Texas Tech 48-28, lost to Wyoming 37-13, lost to UNLV, who was really bad at the time, 34-17, lost to San Diego State 23-20, lost to Utah 45-14, lost to BYU, gave BYU a hard time 24-19. They beat Colorado State by 2. Then they lost to TCU, a TCU team, I believe, that went on to win the Rose Bowl 51-10. That's the 2009 season. Again, I know I'm ripping off stats here. You thought 2009 was bad. Here's 2010. 72-0 to Oregon. 52-17 to Texas Tech. 56-14 Utah. 45-20 to UNLV. And again, that was a really bad UNLV team. They lost by 18 to UTEP, 38-20. At least they scored 20 points. They lost to NMSU again by 2 down in Cruces. Lost to San Diego State 30-20. 38-14 to Colorado State. They beat Wyoming 48-23 Air Force, 40-7 to BYU. And on Thanksgiving weekend, I remember being there. They lost to TCU 66-17. Ed, I'm sorry I ripped those all off. That was some really bad football.
Oh, that's that really was. And you're not kidding. Yeah, man. That's what
show.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Those teams weren't even competitive. The other thing I got to say is that Coach Mendenhall, we've been maybe a little bit of frustration that we haven't been able to speak to him here, but I'm anxious to talk to him. I am. I want to know. I'm sure there's a little chip on the shoulder, like no one expects anything from Lobo football anyway. When's it been any good? And the last time was Coach Davey had 2016 a winning record, and they haven't had a winning record since then, right?
2016, yeah.
Okay, so nobody expects anything anyway. Lobo fans are notoriously apathetic towards Lobo football, and again, I still say I'll stand by this until I'm proven wrong. I still think he's one of the most important football hires we've had, or hires, period, in the athletic department to go along with Steve Alford. I'll still say that. Based on his record, based on his track record. Now 7-7 in bowl games. He went to 14 bowl games, man. So Coach Davey went to 2. Coach Long went to 4 here? Maybe more. He might have gone to more than 4. I can't remember. But Coach Franchione didn't go to a bowl game. Coach
One.
Dennis Franchione?
He went to 1 when they, in 97, when they won the Mountain Division in the WAC. They went to the
Las Vegas Bowl?
Insight.com
Bowl. Like Arizona, right? Okay, they
went up like 7-0 and they lost 21-14.
Okay, so he left after that. Coach Franchione left after that. Now, for people that don't remember, Joe Morrison went 10-1 here in 1982 and didn't go to any bowl game, and that's at a time where there wasn't 2,000 bowl games the way there is now. And of course, Coach Morrison left after that. So I'm really anxious to talk to Coach Mendenhall just to see, what he thinks and we'll get a little bit from him in that interview in Las Vegas next week. I'm anxious to talk to him, sit down with him. He's a winner. Remember that. He's a winner. Now, can he win here? If he does, the NFL may come calling. This is a program. Think about where it's at. I love the program. I love Lobo football. I want them to win. But we have to be honest where this program is, where it's been, and it just hasn't. Even when Coach, we mentioned it for the millionth time, when Coach Davey won those those winning seasons, 22,000 at University Stadium, and Rick mentioned they're running the triple option. I get that, but they had some speed in that backfield. I mean, they had 3 of the fastest backs there was that led the nation in rushing, and they still didn't get anybody at the games. The other thing is this. I'm going to go, say this. One of our listeners or watchers emailed you something about change the culture at the stadium to bring fans into the games, have all these activities. I read that and I'm like, you can't just expect people to come unless you give them a reason to have their kids there, make it a family event. I can't remember the guy's name that emailed us, but I thought the suggestions were great. You have to try to change the culture as far as marketing. Now, look, no disrespect to anybody at out there at the university, the athletic department, but last year they played New Mexico State, and people can't even get in the stadium until halftime. That can't happen. That cannot happen. To me, I thought that was like, gosh, you had a full house, not a full house, but what, 28, 30,000? And some of them didn't even get there till half. And then there's restrooms closed down on one end. You just got to do a better job. You got to do a better job of that. Why would people give me a reason to come out? I'm going to come out because I'm a diehard. I'm always going to come out or watch always. But you got to give other people that have not bought into Lobo football, you have to give them a reason to want to come out to support the team.
I'm going to the comments after this, and when I mention this comment, you need to comment more often because that's the best comment we've gotten on here.
I can't wait.
I said dollar beer night. This might be better. Rocky Long was 1-4 with UNM in bowl games. Lost Las Vegas. We don't talk about the oh goodness, what was his name? The running back that Oregon State that went on to Steven Jackson. Just geez, yeah.
Oh my
God! I remember
yeah,
we had a couple
200 yards rushing, ran us over.
My dad was really failing that year, and he had died 4 or 5 months later, and we had people over our house. And I remember my friend Steven and I watching that game, and we were so amped on Christmas Eve, and the game just sucked. It was absolutely disastrous. It was diabolical. It was terrible. Las Vegas Bowl, Emerald, New Mexico. We've got some comments, and I will get to them. I've been repetitive about it. Bronco Mendenhall is a winner. He has not won here. It might be, if not one of the most difficult jobs in the country, it might be now the most difficult job in the country. I said that if we ended up loving Danny Gonzalez. He was awesome with us. He joined us more than half of the season. And I don't, as I've jokingly said, and I need to steer clear of the Nazi jokes, but I don't know why you would not want to pump up your program. I understand Bronco Mendenhall are getting to work and people have animosity towards the media, but you don't get, I understand you get your salary from the state, but then there's nobody in the stands if you don't interact with the fans. I guess, by them being so secret, I guess they were getting ready to invade Normandy or were hiding the plans for the Death Star. I don't know. I'm looking forward to talking to Bronco Mendenhall because, again, Kurt Roth changed my opinion. John Romero, I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. If you've ever seen the Chappelle Show with the Players Haters Ball, I'm the biggest hater for UNM football, and it stems from Mike Loxley and Frank Mercogliano. I will be very, very vocal about that now. I think that the football program is their own enemy. They just shoot themselves in the foot all the time. And granted for Danny, Ed, I think Danny's done a great job. Danny did a great job in trying to promote the program. He moved the student section. He was upset when that tree went down. I think that when you walk into the north side of the stadium, it's not so bad. But the south end zone, it's terrible. Like nobody wants to go to the game again after you've lost to New Mexico State and all of the situation you just talked about. I kind of forgot about that, but you can't get in and out of there. And I've always talked about how 20 years ago, you couldn't walk on the concourse because so many people were passionate for Rocky. I liked Rocky. I wanted Rocky to win. And I always think about my friend Steven, who wanted Rocky fired, and he wanted Rocky back the minute Mike Loxley, the program started to fail. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. I wish, and again, I've mentioned it, Rocky did not resign. Krebs fired Rocky. They covered that shit up. I'm going to go to a couple of the comments. Ronnie Chavez watched the 93 BYU versus UNM game, 35,000 sellout. Commentators were impressed with the crowd, the good old days. Somebody had mentioned that it was Lobo Gabe on Twitter tonight. I just happened to see it before we go live. There's never been 45,000 people in the stands. The biggest crowd UNM has ever had was September 17th, 2005. I was a freshman in college. 44,000 people, 44,760. New Mexico State in 2003, 44,075. UTEP for the first game in the north end zone, 41,771. And then I remember being at one of the BYU games. October 8th, 2005, 39,233 people. I mean, these crowds aren't astronomical, and this area has gotten bigger. I don't know, and I've said it a lot. I think the fan base here thought Rocky was taking the Lobos to a BCS bowl game. 2003, they had the opportunity to win the conference, and they lost to UNLV. That's how good of a team Rocky had. They had playmakers. You talked about it. D.D. Cox, Dontrell Moore, who was one of our favorite guests. Casey Kelly. They had studs on defense. I think DJ Renneria. They were good. And you think about all the guys in the secondary. You know, I'm thinking about Jake Bowe, Zach Arnett, those guys that played in that position. Obviously, Brian Urlacher, Glover Quinn. There's another guy's name that's escaping me that I think ended up in the NFL. Blake Lyjon, guys like that. You had playmakers. And when, it's funny, it's funny when you say Glover Quinn there and what he said, Ed, they're talented, but did they make, DeAndre Wright. Thank you. Did they make any plays? And you think about how the first thing that popped in my head, Aaron Rodgers is much more talented than Tom Brady, but Tom Brady was a playmaker. Think about that. Says the New York Giants fan. John Romero, Kurt Roth said that. Ed and Richard are not drinking it. Yeah, Rick ain't drinking it. Ed, I think you've been very, very spot on and objective with your opinion. C123, he's not pouring Kool-Aid. He's literally just saying he thinks they can win something more than 2 or 3 games, which again, 1 to 2, 3 games, I think with a much more efficient, disciplined team. Yeah. Danny Gonzalez, teams led the nation in penalties. Bronco teams will be way more disciplined. That's what I was just saying. I felt bad we liked Danny, but again, felt really bad for him. They were the most penalized team in the country, just ahead of Colorado, the University of Colorado.
Oh, just one.
And here you go, Ed.
Comment.
How do we get more fans into the stand? Go ahead.
One quick comment about John Romero, who's my friend. I love John. He's a good guy. But Jerry Kill, he's a big New Mexico State and New Mexico fan. Is he going to tell me that Bronco Mendenhall isn't as important a hire as Jerry Kill was at New Mexico State? Now, Jerry Kill changed the culture. He did. Give Coach Kill credit. He beat the Lobos twice and, stuck it up there. You know what? He did. Piss me off. I hate losing to the Aggies. I do. So is John Romero, all due respect, you're a great guy. I think Bronco Mendenhall's hiring. We haven't seen what he can do. Let's stand back, give him a chance, and then we can say about the Kool-Aid. Maybe it wasn't grape flavored. Maybe it was Jim Jones flavor. We don't know yet, but willing to take a chance and see. But haven't had my first swig yet. I want to wait and see first.
Bob Davie came out and ass blasted Southern in his first game, but it was Southern. The coolest thing about that game was the marching band that was here. All right, how do we fix the attendance at University Stadium? This might be a better idea than dollar beer night. Make every night razzle dazzle night. Craig, you need to comment more. That is our 2 cents on Lobo football. Again, we're probably having the same conversation every night.
One more. I got to add to that.
Lobos,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
All you, Ed.
One friend of mine, you're going to laugh about this. This is back in the 90s. One of my friends that I work with at the city hated the Lobos. So he'd say, hey, all you have to do, this is back in the 90s, is bring a can of food and you get in free for the Lobo football games, which was a lie. But that's the kind of apathy that a lot of people have towards Lobo football, even back in the day.
I think if you buy, and I think they're doing that. I don't pay attention to any of the ticket giveaways or what they do, because if we weren't credentialed, I'll be quite honest, I'm not giving that program any money. And I know that will piss off a lot of people. I was an objective reporter. Yeah, I grew up here. I was a Lobo fan. I try to call it as I sees it. I calls this as I sees it. If you say that, you're probably not calling it as you see it. Anyway, it's like saying you don't care, but you care.
I think Ronnie had a comment, Ryan, you're going to get to before I rudely interrupted.
Yeah, I lost my train of thought. COVID and former alcoholic brain. Lobos just can't get those athletes like before, and it's just not trying to get them to come here. Lobos had studs back then. Jeremiah Struther was a beast. Quincy Black played for the Buccaneers. I think Quincy Black was on a team that won the division. They lost to the Giants in the wild card round in 2007. Yeah, Barrett Rudd, I think, was Quincy Black was a stud. But yeah, I agree with that. I think I'm going to say this very quickly, and I mentioned it last year. If Danny couldn't win, you just bulldoze, just restart the program, jumpstart, blow up that stadium, and try to do something new. Because I'm hoping that Bronco can get them to the promised land. And I'm thinking about my comment, my coworker and good friend Eddie said he lived in Boise. I made a trip out of that last year and always wanted to go see Boise State play. And I went up there, and he picked me up from the airport, and we went down to downtown Boise, and the campus, which is in downtown or right near it, kind of like UNM. And we drove by, and he goes, "Look at this." And he pointed to the football stadium and the campus. He goes, "This is all Chris Peterson." Chris Peterson was the head coach there, and Dirk Cutter, but Chris Peterson getting them to that Fiesta Bowl, winning that game, getting the school money, and then just repeatedly winning, And I was talking to Eric about this today, Ed. Three Fiesta Bowl wins is much more impressive than losing in the round of 32. And I will leave it at that note. We'll come back real quick, Ed. I want your thoughts on LeBron and the draft. And one more comment. Bronco needs some time. He will have Lobos first soon. No bowl game this year. Mr. Roth hinted. Not going to be instant oatmeal. No, I agree with that. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back and get Ed's thoughts on as Jim Rome called them, LA Fakers, the fake show.
I dropped the top on the S6 Street. Fly in my eyes, see the envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy. Yeah, too clean. Yeah, my zone. Yeah, 2-3. Yeah, got shooters that hit from deep. Bust like Giannis. Yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden. On P, don't get me started. Whole team walk in me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. They get real when it comes to the playoffs. The fight with me, no one's a KO.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori, joined by Ed Nunez. Just real quick, we will be live at Circa Hotel and Casino, July 9th, July 10th. We'll be there for Mountain West Conference Football Media Days, July 10th and 11th with the coaches. We will be a live show, hopefully from Stadium Swim. That is my understanding. Hopefully we'll be under a tent or in a cabana with some of the hot, very beautiful surfers. Ed, looking forward to that, though. Very quickly before we go to Ronnie Chavez, can you guys tell me what high school Stoney Case came from? I didn't have to look it up. Permian Odessa. Stoney had offers from big-time Texas schools and still decided to come to UNM just for comparison. How hard it is nowadays to get a QB like him. Yeah, he was an NFL quarterback. But Permian Odessa, which is one of my favorite books of all time, Friday Night Lights. Love the movie. The show's okay.
Oh, yeah.
But the book is not, if you've never read it, the book is just blatantly about how racist that town is and how much they love football. So it's a good book. I do love the movie because I love Billy Bob Thornton.
Real quick point to what Ronnie said. He's right. It's hard. We haven't. New Mexico has not seen consistent play from the quarterback for a long time. But Donovan Dampier was the Max Prep Player of the Year in Arizona. that they got him to stay is a boon. It is. They are going to need that kid to produce the way people think he can. That's why getting that second quarterback that can come in and take 6 to 8 snaps if needed is important, because everything that I read about Dampier, they convinced him to stay, and everything Sean Ryder has written about him. This kid seems that we saw him play last year. Looks like he's a real deal. So, he mentioned Stoney Case. Stoney Case went to the NFL and played, several seasons. So we're not saying Donovan Dampier's on that. Right. We're not saying Donovan Dampier's on that trek yet, but I'm anxious to see what he can do.
I hope the kid doesn't get killed. I don't think he will. I think Bronco's going to have the offensive line probably figured out. That's, you go as your offensive and defensive line go. I'm sorry for the reference again, Ed, but I saw a professional team basically win a Super Bowl by the play of their defensive line, and it it blows your mind.
No, I remember that game. I don't know which one you referenced.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the Buccaneers too. I know I'm going professional sports. I mean, the Chiefs in that Super Bowl during the COVID year, Super Bowl 54, the offensive line depleted. Patrick Mahomes is not Patrick Mahomes. Brady isn't Brady without offensive and defensive line play. All right, very quickly before we get out of here, because it's getting late. I know it's a holiday night, so it probably doesn't matter. All right, Ed. I don't think we talked about it last week, but LeBron James drafts Bronny, lay son, lay dad. Actually, I said that wrong. The Lakers drafted LeBron James's son, Bronny James. Your thoughts?
Not surprised, and there's some film on him playing for USC. Remember, he had the cardiac issue last year, and when I heard it, I was here with my granddaughter, and I think you texted, but I was watching it when they did it live, and the bronification of the Lakers continues. And so JJ Redick came out today and said he earned it. He earned it. Bronny, he's talking about. They didn't give it to him. I have to hope as a Laker fan now, there's a lot of Laker fans that I've read that are jumping off. They're like, I'm done with that team, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not. Does that mean I'm a Bronny fan or LeBron? I've never been a LeBron James fan, but I have to watch him and hope that he does good things for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I have to hope that Bronny develops into a player at USC. He averaged 4.1 points per game. And remember, he's 6'1". The old man is 6'8". There's a lot of he doesn't have the explosiveness that his dad does. He doesn't have the athleticism. They say he's a good defender, a decent shooter, but they say there's a problem when he matches up with bigger guards. They ate him up at the combine. When he came up off picks and switched on bigger dudes, they chewed him up. So he's got a lot of developing to go. I'm anxious to see what I like. Dalton Connect. I like that pick by the Lakers a lot. But all eyes are on. It's a marketing ploy. We know that. One guy, my wife and I were listening to NBA radio today on the way back from Arizona, and he called the Lakers the Clutch Angeles Lakers, and and Chris, what's his name? Paul, Rich Paul, the owner of Clutch Sports, has all these clients, and so LeBron being amongst them, the guy called him the Clutch Angeles Lakers, and they, a lot of people today weighed in on that. And Brian Scalabrine was a little bit more level-headed, saying the roster isn't that bad. And maybe he's got a point that maybe they're not. I think Dalton Connect's going to help them a lot. I really do. Long, rangy, can shoot, gets to the basket. Now I got to wonder about Austin Reeves, because to me he's a lot like Austin Reeves. Now they try to get Klay Thompson, and they offered him more money. But if you're Klay Thompson, you're looking for a championship, and you want to play with Luka or Kyrie or LeBron, who's going to give you a better chance of winning the championship right now? I'd probably say Luka and Kyrie. So I can't blame him for that. So the Lakers haven't done much in free agency. They signed LeBron to a 2-year extension today worth $102 million. But I'm telling you, I don't. With Bronny, going back to Bronny, I got to hope that he develops and he's not going to be his father. It's not fair to say, somebody said today too that is LeBron going to wait for his son Bryce and have all three of them play together? It's like, please don't go there. Don't even go there. So there's someone that's been a Laker fan since '72. It was hard for me to even to embrace him when he came to the team. That doesn't mean I don't think he can play. I didn't say that. It's all the other stuff that comes with him. He's a hired gun. He's a mercenary. I told you what I thought about him before. I'm not saying he's not great, because he is. It's just all the other stuff that comes with him. And this is it's going to have me thinking, though, they're using it as a marketing ploy. Come see LeBron James and his son. They'll be on TNT. They'll be on a million NBA, ESPN games. More money, more revenue. Jeannie Buss isn't thinking about winning championships right now, I don't think. So there it is. That's what I think. Got to hope he develops into a good player. But with J.J. Redick saying that he deserved it as about as much as J.J. Redick deserves to be the head coach. Go.
Here's Rick joining us in the conversation. Bronny getting 4-year contract, a second round pick is a joke. I wish Rick. I messed up last night. I wanted Rick to talk about it some more. We're gonna have just an NBA segment with Rick. Most second rounders get 2-way contracts. There you go. My buddy Mike, absolute joke. LOL, the GM running the Lakers into the ground.
Mike's right, man. He's absolutely right. He's right.
And I'm not just saying, I had the luxury of seeing Tom Brady play. I went to a Jets game. The Jets walked off. It was 2015. It was the Fitzmagic year. They had Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker as wideouts. Yeah, they were a good team. And they walked off in overtime right in front of us. I was in the upper deck at MetLife, and Eric Decker caught a pass in overtime. I can see it in my mind right now in the left corner of the end zone. It was awesome. Then Fitzmagic threw him out of the playoffs the next week in Buffalo. But why I'm saying that, Ed, is I have, there's certain players I'd love to see. There's certain events I'd rather go to than the fireworks have started. There's certain events that I would rather go to. I'm not a LeBron guy. I'm not. We talked about it last night, and I don't want to go down this path. I will always take Jordan, and I mention it. I know he needed Pippen to win. He didn't beat the Pistons until 90. But you think about who those teams beat. It's just like this collective of Clyde Drexler, Magic Johnson, Kevin Johnson, Thunder Dan Marley. I said it the same thing last night. Thunder Dan Marley, Charles Barkley, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, John Stockton, Karl Malone. Yeah. That is who Jordan beat. That is who Jordan and the Bulls beat. And I never, as far as great as Michael Jordan was, those teams were deep. Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Steve Kerr, Dennis Rodman, who might be one of my favorite NBA players of all time because he hustled. I always tell that when they're like, LeBron's so much better, and I get that. I got to give it up to my main man from the Salt Lake City, Greg Ostertag. My Ahmad Rashad. It's my Ahmad Rashad impression. I got to give it up to my main man from the Emerald City, Sean Kemp. Everybody was Ahmad Rashad's main man. If you watched Inside the NBA on NBC on Saturday.
Oh man, I remember watching that. But you mentioned the depth on the Bulls. Latter part of their second championship. On their first championship, Bill Cartwright, Horace Grant,
B.J. Armstrong,
John Paxson. B.J. Armstrong was with them on the second one too, as well, I believe. Maybe he wasn't. He might have gone to Charlotte by then. But Luke Longley. Luke Longley did his job and helped them win 3 championships. One guy that I want to talk about, Cliff Livingston, coached the Santa Ana Thunder. He was on that first championship and contributed. Was a contributor. So they had a lot of depth. But you know what? Look, I've watched the NBA since '72. And, the Lakers have been, I've watched, not just the Lakers, many players. To me, Jordan's the greatest I ever saw, but he didn't, he was unbelievable. You mentioned the 6-0 in championships. I never saw anybody hang in the air like that. Never. I didn't see Elgin Baylor. They said Elgin Baylor, and John Romero's mentioning Randy Brown, who's a heck of a player, defensive player for Chicago back then. Very good player. So I never saw anybody like him. I didn't. I'll why I'll take him. I'd even say Kobe belongs up there before LeBron. And I say this, because the assassin's mentality. Jordan hated to lose in anything, whether it be tiddlywinks, a table tennis, pool. He hated to lose. And sometimes I don't see that with LeBron. He said this after a game that they lost. At the end of the day, he says, it's just basketball. That's what he said. Jordan would have never said that. Not ever. Not ever. So sometimes I think to myself, I'm not saying he doesn't compete or doesn't try hard, but to me, Jordan was that guy. So was Kobe, as far as the killer mentality, the assassin's mentality. Though that's what made them those guys that I think a little better than LeBron.
Yeah, I look back and Kobe, and I would have loved to have seen Kobe and LeBron playing in NBA Finals. I didn't really care for the Lakers in the early 2000s, and I didn't care for the NBA then. And I'm sorry, Ed. And as I've told you, we need to disagree on the show. The whole Donaghy thing and the fouling against Sacramento, and it just rubs me. I don't know. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And part of me, and I'll get flack for this, those early titles by the Lakers. I don't know if I know you won't. I feel like maybe there should be an asterisk next to them. I know I got big balls for saying that. It just rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, I'm on the other way. That ain't no freaking way. I normally would say, I would say not going to cuss. I've never cussed on this show. I will not ever.
I'm bad about it.
I cuss when we're off the show a lot, but not on the show. But no asterisk, no nothing. They're the champs. That's it. Just like your Giants. Look, I would take anything away from your Giants in 7. They're the champs. That's it. Here's the thing. And Ryan, you're my guy. We're friends. There's no such thing as revisionist history, man. And I keep telling people, you can't go back and say, if this didn't happen or that didn't happen, it happened. There's nothing I can do to change the games that my team's lost. I can't say, hey, man, if that hadn't happened, it happened. We love to go on and on about what if, and if. By the way, Donnie, he wasn't on all those games the Lakers won. I had to tell somebody that today when the Lakers beat the Blazers in 2000. The Blazers choked away a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter of the Western Conference Finals. So you got this guy saying, Donahue. He wasn't even on that game. So every time a team loses, not you, I didn't say you, right away, Donahue's name comes up. Hey, man, that dude wasn't on that game. Your team lost. Things happen. Sometimes there's nothing we can do to go back and say, hey, if that hadn't happened, it did. That's it. That's life.
I do give the 2001 Lakers a lot of credit. I mean, look at what the Celtics just did. 16-1 in the postseason. The only game was the Allen Iverson over Tyronn Lue. And that's insane to me. And that somebody mentioned, I was listening to a local national show, that this might not be the best. You can't consider this Celtics team one of the best ever, but you can certainly consider the run they just had at 16-3 in the postseason one of the better performances in postseason history. And I think they're just as talented. I mean, you're going to look back. You might look back on 10 years and say, "Damn, that team is that Celtics team was really."
You got a point. You got a point. You do.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
That's why you said Isaac last night. All due respect to Isaac, good guy. Philadelphia is not ready. PG. Look, he's a good player. He's never ever been that player. Never. Wherever he's been, OKC, the Clippers, Indiana, never been that dude, not ever. So I still think Boston's got it over them. I do. I know they've got Maxey. I know they've got George. I know they've got Embiid. I like Maxey a lot. I do. They're still not better than Boston. They're still not, in my mind. We'll see what happens.
You can say I'm going to be a homer here. You can say they're probably more talented than the Knicks, but are they better than the Knicks? I don't know. The Knicks were much better than I thought. And this is the first time in several years I am incredibly excited about this Knicks team, because I've been a Mikal Bridges guy since Villanova, and I loved him on the Suns. So I am amped. I am amped for the Nova Knicks. Do I think it translates into a championship? No. Do I think they are better than Philadelphia? No. I think you give them a 7-game series against Philadelphia, I don't know what the hell happens, because I think Tom Thibodeau, much like I said about Jason Kidd, and Rick and I were talking about it, I was like, I don't know how the hell this Dallas Mavericks team is here. Jason Kidd's probably a really good head coach. Ed, I want to, dude, Mike. MJ got his butt kicked by that perf security guard with the Jerry curl of quarters. Yeah, MJ was pissed about that. That might have been the best. That might have been the greatest thing out of The Last Dance that was taken away from that, because even Michael Key did that segment on SNL where he And Ed, I wanted to ask you about this. I want to keep you too much longer, but I think we're having a good time talking about the NBA. And that's what I was trying to incorporate in this show was a little bit more national sports talk. And we're not going to stop talking about Lobos. Los Lobos. Fucking Lobos. I hope Scott Forrester's watching. Anyway, Ryan, you said LeBron was the most influential player in sports. Did you mean current of all time? How about Kobe? Wasn't he such influential? How about Kobe? Wasn't he sort of influential as to what he wanted to play with? Okay. Let me clarify that from last night. Thanks, Ronnie. Most influential, what I meant by most influential, and Jim Rome was talking about it, and a couple other national guys were talking about it. And I'm going to give a plug to Coach Jason Brown from Last Chance University, a Netflix show. If you haven't watched it, it's about 4 or 5 years old. It's bonkers. There's 3 different junior colleges they go to. East Mississippi Community College with Buddy Stevens there. It's insane. And then they followed Jason Brown at Independence. He got at Independence Community College in Kansas. He got fired from Independence Community College for telling a German student that he was his quote new Hitler. Jason Brown has Jason Brown has no filter. He is hysterical.
That's crazy.
He's a white dude from Compton, Ed, and he talks about it all the time. But he was a phenomenal football player. He had a practice shot with the Chiefs. He turned into this JUCO kind of head coach that pumped players in the NFL. The most notable, I think, is Jermaine Johnson for the Jets. He transferred from Independence to Georgia, transferred from Georgia to Florida State, and was ACC Defensive Player of the Year, was a Pro Bowler last year for the Jets and part of that pretty good Jets core right now. But he's from LA, and he always talks. If you haven't checked him out, it's the Coach JB show with the real Smitty. Rick, if you're watching, I'm sorry I plugged the show. I'm not going to go any further. But he's no longer a Laker fan. He calls it Chiefs queefdom or queendom. That's not good for advertisers saying that. But anyway, if you listen to his show, he's bonkers, but he's a big Laker fan. So a lot of other national shows that I've been listening to have been talking about, is LeBron the most influential person in sports in this country? And I say yes, because look at what he's just done. I mean, he got a team to just draft his kid. And again, it's not Bronny's fault. And Bronny got a 2-year deal with $7.9 million. There was a story I heard. It was one of the national guys that it was rumored that he was going to sign with the Knicks before he went to the Lakers. And his wife said, no, you're going to you're going to go to LA. Now, granted, I'm just some guy in Albuquerque, New Mexico, not Cleveland. I'm not in the tri-state anymore. I'm not in LA. I would have been pretty bummed if he had signed with the Knicks. I lost respect for him when he signed with the Heatles. But by most influential is how much control does he have? I overheard somebody say Tiger Woods, maybe Tom Brady. I think Belichick and him butted heads. But I just think when you think about it in the context of history, it's in this sports, in this professional sports in this country, it is LeBron James. Ed, I don't know if you had a comment on that.
Look at the things that have transpired within the last week with the Los Angeles Lakers drafting Bronny James, signing him to a 2-way contract. LeBron, before that, the hiring of JJ Redick, who did a podcast.
It's not a 2-way contract. It's not a 2-way contract. He was signed.
No,
4-year deal.
That's right. Normally, second-round draft picks get 2-way contracts. So he got a 4-year deal. JJ Redick, his podcast partner, is hired as the head coach of the Lakers. They said, oh, we tried to hire Dan Hurley. Joke, a farce. That was never going to happen. So take a look at those events there. LeBron opts in today for $102 million over 2 years. Yes, he has right now. And Ronnie's a great commenter, by the way. Thanks for all your comments and watching the show. Everybody that comments. But how about Kobe? Wasn't he sort of influential? Who he wanted to play with? Kobe had certain guys he wanted to play with. That's true. That trade for Gasol, where they robbed Memphis for Kwame Brown, I still remember Stephen A. Smith losing his head over that. Kwame Brown. Oh my God, the guy went nuts. but they got 2 championships out of that. And, but Kobe, I don't think had this kind of influence. We didn't know, we didn't see it. Again, this is the first time. Think about the pros that played with their sons together. Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. with Seattle.
That's the biggest.
Yeah. Gordie Howe with his sons in the World WHA Hockey League with Mark and Marty Howe, Gordie Howe. And that's it. That is it in the pros that I read. There might be more. So, this is a historic moment, they say. And I guess when they step on the court together, I don't know, though, is Bronny up to that kind of challenge? We'll see. Right now, I'd say no, but we'll see what happens.
Ronnie Chavez again. Mikal Bridges reminds me of Kerry Kittles. Yeah, I see that a little bit.
Kerry Kittles was nice. He was a nice
Kerry
player.
Kittles was a great player. Ronnie again, and I'm sorry, the reason I'm reading this one. Real quick, fellas, New Mexico United got over 12,100 in the stands tonight. We mentioned Adam Deal. We need to talk United. I was going to text him today to see if you want to come on, but then they join us on the show, and I realized that they had the game tonight. I know they're having a good season. They're top of the Western Conference. They won tonight 2-0. Can United become something big here? MLS, you guys like the stadium built at the Balloon Park. Well, we're going to talk a little bit longer, Ed, because I would like to comment on that. I'm going to get in a lot of trouble for this one. I am fascinated. Truly, congrats to United, though. I am truly fascinated. This is my opinion. This does not reflect this company. I am truly fascinated, and only in this city, in this country, would a semi-pro soccer team be successful. And I know that they get upset when it's a semi-pro team. I've talked to Peter Trevisani and oh, darn it, I forgot his name. He was very, very helpful to me. He came on our show. He's their director of Carl David. It's not a knock. I just find it very, very funny that a semi-pro team had that much draw because only here in Albuquerque. I was in New Jersey when I learned about New United and what the USL was. I didn't know what it was. It fascinates me. And I know that there is some animosity towards the Isotopes and United. They need to figure out how to get the hell out of Isotopes Park, because that is not meant for soccer. That's a baseball stadium. They don't even have concerts there. I know it's not big enough to do that, but I think United, they're very good at marketing. Every other you turn around, they've got a new jersey. I can't believe that there's no other space in this city for a soccer stadium, because I think my understanding of what's going to happen is this at the Balloon Fiesta. Like, I don't know 100% about it. I just can't believe that they can't like blow up some land and I know it's probably owned, commercial real estate, but it's blown like that shitty Motel 6 right when you get off Cesar Chavez. Why you can't do anything with that and build a soccer stadium there and build some bars and build some restaurants. I mentioned how UNM football is its own worst enemy. Albuquerque's its own worst enemy. I don't understand the fast. I am blown away that people get shit canned and go to these minor league soccer games here. And I think if you look at the discrepancy between New Mexico United and the rest of the USL in attendance, it's like New Mexico United in the tens of thousands, and then the next team's got like 1,000 or something. The last time I looked at it, it blows my mind. It's very shocking to me. I'm not trying to be like everyone else and be typical I don't call it Borqueño because I know I'm from here. It's the Polak honky coming out of me, Ed. Albuquerquean. I'm probably wrong there. I am maybe a Borqueño, but I'm a New Mexican, and I don't want to be that guy that shits on everything, because we own this business and we have had shit on us. We've had people shit on us because it's new and they don't understand it, and people don't like change. I've mentioned that I've made a mistake I've made a mistake reporting. I was wrong. I used to sit behind Jeff Granter at the Albuquerque Journal for a year. That is my background. Not hosting a show. I'm okay at this. We made this for our listeners. But I don't want to be that guy that completely shits on United and because people shit on us. And that seems to be the trend in New Mexico. They don't understand change. And I've said that a million times. People who live in Albuquerque and haven't lived anywhere else, I don't think understand what the rest of the world is like. And I will say that about where I live, New Jersey, New Yorkers. Yeah, it's New York City. And a lot of the world does revolve around New York, but think about it. The world doesn't revolve around New York. The world doesn't revolve around Albuquerque. It's a very unique place. But with that said, I wish that they would put, you're ruining, you might be ruining the Balloon Fiesta, like the park there. I don't get that. So that's my rant. I think they could have done something better. I think it's makeshift and it's business people being business people in this capitalist country, and they're not thinking things through. It's good that they're winning. I don't pay attention to it. I don't understand. I just don't understand how a minor league team like that is treated like Arsenal or Man U. Ed, your thoughts on that? I'm sorry for that ramble.
You know what? There's things about Lobo, shouldn't even say Lobo fans, New Mexico fans, that they'll grab onto something, and if they like it, they'll go to it. And New Mexico United seems to be one of those things, like the Albuquerque Dukes. What has succeeded here professionally as far as pro teams? The Dukes / Isotopes, United, and I'm trying to think about who else. We've had the Six Guns here, the Chaparrals here, a couple of a volleyball team here, the Lasers, and another soccer team.
You're joking with the name Lasers, right? That's real?
No. There was a volleyball team here. I'm trying to think. There was numerous pro basketball teams have failed. The Albuquerque Silvers, the New Mexico Slam, the Albuquerque Thunderbirds. My good friend Andres Trujillo runs the New Mexico Runners. They've had a good run here. He's still here. He'd like to get some more people out there, but they're still here. So it just hasn't been a lot of teams, but for whatever reason, you looked over there at the pitch at the Isotopes Park, and that what did they have last time? 10,000 fans. I don't know what they had tonight, but
12,100, I guess.
Tonight.
Yeah.
They're going to have a fireworks show afterward too.
Yeah.
So whatever reason, fans love it here, and give them credit. Now, as far as the Balloon Fiesta Park, those people have made those consider the things that you made around the park. About the Balloon Fiesta, the parking, the things that United would bring there. Some of them they didn't want, but those concerns were made, and for right now, it looks like that's going to go forward.
Yeah, I don't have any more information on it. Ken Sickinger might be a good person to ask the Albuquerque Journal because he covers United. David Carl, they might not like what I had to say, but again, you're treating that team like Man U or AC Milan. Ed, I appreciate you. Again, next week, coming to you live from Circa Hotel and Casino, July 9th, July 10th. Mountain West Conference Football Days are July 10th and 11th. Ed, I want to thank you. I didn't mean to rant on like that. I just happened to see a couple of the comments, and then the last one, again, I always forgot about the Scorpions. I love Scorpions.
Oh, man, the Scorps.
It was great.
Forgot about the Scorps, man.
Stingley Coliseum, man. If they were around, I'd be talking about them all the time. Great show. Thank you. Your guest from Philly and CBS sure knows NHL hockey inside and out. That's why he's a national reporter for NHL on CBS.com. Much appreciated, John Romero. Everybody have a safe and happy 4th of July. Do not pull a Jason Pierre-Paul. And as always,
today we celebrate our Independence Day.
I'm not going to go out with any other songs, but Ed, hey, I hope you have a happy 4th of July. I will talk to you soon. Once again, thanks for watching the Pit Press Live. On behalf of Ed Nunez, Rick Thompson, Jacob Neff, Eric Malton, my name is Ryan Tamori, the Pit Press Live under New Mexico Alumni Media. We will talk to you next week from Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody have a great, I'm going to say it again, a happy, safe and happy 4th of July.
Fly in my ops, see the envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, don't even started. Whole team walk in, we the party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've down. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get out my shell, I've been laying low. Take it real when it